You've probably at some point found yourself in a relationship where you felt loved and valued one moment, only to be left questioning everything the next. Perhaps your partner gave you the silent treatment, or became suddenly distant and aloof without any clear explanation. This behavior isn't as rare as you might think, and it's fueled by a deep-seated emotional need that many of us struggle to acknowledge, let alone admit to ourselves. You might recognize this pattern in your own relationships, where your partner's sudden mood swings or lack of communication have left you feeling uncertain, anxious, and desperate for reassurance. In this video, we're going to explore the fatal flaw in human nature that drives manipulation, insecurity, and self-deception in relationships, a flaw that's far more universal than you might be willing to admit. At its core, human behavior is often driven by an unconscious need for validation, which can manifest in various ways that seem unrelated to our genuine wants, yet are actually rooted in the desire for approval and acceptance. This fundamental need for validation can make us prone to self-deception, as we rationalize our actions to ourselves and others, hiding the true intentions behind them, and thereby perpetuating a cycle of insecurity and manipulation. When we feel uncertain about our validation, we may exhibit control-seeking behaviors in relationships as a means of compensating for the fear of being abandoned or rejected, a fear that is as primal as it is inescapable. It's intriguing to consider how a person's attraction to another can be rooted in a desire for emotional validation, rather than romantic love, revealing the intricate web of self-interest and insecurity that underlies many relationships. The human ego is notorious for its defense mechanisms, and one of the most insidious is the tendency to deny or downplay our own flaws, even when confronted with evidence of them, as a desperate attempt to maintain a fragile illusion of self-worth and validation. Ultimately, understanding the hidden force behind human behavior, namely the core emotional need for validation, is the first step towards developing authentic relationships based on mutual respect and acceptance, rather than superficial attraction and manipulation. The need for emotional validation is so deeply ingrained in us that we often manipulate those around us to achieve it, even if it means sacrificing our own integrity. Most of us can't bear the thought of being alone in our own minds, and will do whatever it takes to feel wanted and needed by others. The instant attraction we feel towards someone can quickly devolve into a desperate attempt to control and possess them, revealing the insecurity we've been trying to hide behind a mask of confidence. In relationships, we often sabotage the very thing we claim to desire because, deep down, we're terrified of the freedom and intimacy that comes with it. Our pursuit of emotional validation can lead us to deceive even ourselves, convincing ourselves that our partner's love is the foundation of our worth, rather than our own inherent value as a human being. The most vulnerable among us will go to great lengths to avoid feeling the sting of rejection, only to discover that their efforts to avoid it ultimately lead them further down the path of self-deception. When we say we crave love and connection, what we often really mean is we crave the power to feel validated, accepted, and seen. The need for control in relationships stems from a deep-seated fear of being abandoned, rejected, and ultimately powerless. In the pursuit of intimacy, we often sacrifice our true selves for the fleeting high of being desired, only to find ourselves stuck in a cycle of codependency and emotional manipulation. The drive for validation is a fundamental human need, but our attempts to fill this void often backfire, leaving us with feelings of emptiness and disconnection. We're drawn to relationships that offer a sense of security, but this desire is rooted in our own sense of insecurity, our own fear of being insignificant. It's easier to blame our partners or the world around us for our unhappiness than to confront the fact that we're perpetuating a cycle of self-deception. The more we seek external validation, the more we lose touch with our own emotional truth, and the more we rely on others to complete us. This is a recipe for disaster in relationships, where the fear of being alone and unlovable can drive us to say anything, do anything, to keep the other person by our side. Ultimately, the relationship paradox reveals that our desire for love and connection is often at odds with our own need for power, control, and validation. It's a conflict that's both inherent to the human experience and uniquely destructive in its consequences. We tend to perceive emotional expression as a means of genuine connection, but the truth is, it's often a carefully crafted illusion designed to elicit validation and control in our relationships. Our pursuit of admiration and validation can distort our perception of emotional reality, causing us to exaggerate our emotional experiences and create a narrative that is more appealing to others. Behind our desire for emotional expression lies a deeper need for reassurance and acceptance, a desire that can lead us to fabricate emotional experiences or attach ourselves to others in an attempt to feel seen and validated. Unresolved fear and insecurity can also manifest as an intense need for control in our relationships, causing us to manipulate or distort our own emotions in order to influence the outcome of a situation or to feel more secure. The ego's desperate need for admiration and attention can lead us to distort our emotions and become overly self-focused, prioritizing our own feelings and desires above the well-being of others. In our attempt to be loved and accepted, we can become trapped in a cycle of self-deception, convincing ourselves that our emotional expression is authentic, when in reality, it's an elaborate facade designed to elicit the validation and admiration that we crave. When we seek validation and love through manipulation, we're unconsciously perpetuating a cycle that feeds our ego, but ultimately erodes our genuine connections with others. We've been conditioned to measure our self-worth on the basis of how others respond to us, making it incredibly difficult to distinguish between genuine attraction and a desperate need for validation. At its core, the pursuit of emotional control and domination stems from a deep-seated fear of abandonment, rejection, and being unloved, a primal urge that often clouds our judgments and compromises our relationships. Our insecurities are the greatest gatekeepers to our relationships, making us highly susceptible to the subtle manipulations of those who tap into our vulnerabilities. In the desperate bid for love and acceptance, we'll often self-deceive ourselves into believing we're worthy of love when, in reality, we're merely seeking a fleeting reprieve from our inherent sense of inadequacy. Ultimately, our inability to recognize our motivations and confront our darker selves is a stark reminder that our capacity for love and connection is often crippled by our ego's insatiable need for validation and control. As we conclude this exploration into the fatal flaw in human nature, I urge you to reflect on how this insight can awaken you to the manipulation, insecurity, and self-deception that can plague even our closest relationships. Take a moment to think: can you see this flaw at play in your own life, and what can you do to break free from its hold? To continue this journey of discovery, like this video, share your observations with me in the comments below, and consider subscribing for more in-depth explorations into the complexities of human psychology.